Hello, this is Carolyn Bupert with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you're watching the Video Voters Guide, or you might be listening to it on podcast. We're here today to talk with candidates running in the May 17th, 2022 primary. All the candidates for this position have been invited to participate. We ask candidates for the same office, the same questions. The number of questions asked is determined by the length of the candidate's answers. In this process, we're grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the League of Women Voters Education Fund in Portland, the Weiss Foundation, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me is Catherine Thomasson, running for Oregon House of Representatives, District 45, which includes Inner Northeast Portland. Welcome, Dr. Thomasson.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us a little about yourself and why you're running for this office.
Well, at my core, I care about people. It's what drove me to medical school to become a primary care physician, and it's what inspired me to become the National Director of Physicians for Social Responsibility. Caring about people and my concern about climate led me to be the chair of the Environmental Caucus of the Democratic Party here in Oregon. I grew up in a working class union family in a great school district, and I was lucky to go to medical school in downtown Detroit, Michigan. However, as a student, I was appalled by the lack of services for those who couldn't afford it. That experience opened my eyes to the world of advocacy and the realization that far too many of our leaders need to be pushed to do the right thing, and that far too many of our fellow citizens from traditionally marginalized populations continue to be left out of the process. I'm running for office to help change that. We are facing an existential crisis in climate change. We must move off fossil fuels and address climate impacts, especially for those most vulnerable. And we need climate champions to make that happen. I feel I'm prepared to hit the ground running in Salem, to craft and pass meaningful legislation to help protect Oregonians from climate-driven wildfires, oppressive heat, and chronic droughts. The housing crisis is also a health issue and must be addressed at the state in addition to the local level. Access to healthcare, especially mental health and addiction services, is critical for our entire population in post-COVID times and facing the uncertainties of climate change. I'm also dedicated to getting big money out of politics as the clear priorities should I get elected.
Thank you. What, if anything, do you think the legislature should do about campaign finance reform in Oregon?
Well, the voters have called for reform of our campaign finance system, and we need to deliver. High campaign costs keep out a large diversity of candidates, while limitless donations skew every race. We need to start with caps on individual donations based on the type of race and follow that up with a clear plan to move to publicly funded campaigns across the state. To get around the issue of dark money and paid political ads, there should be strict disclosure of funders. Oregon can pride itself on our current funding transparency for donors and should be able to achieve this for dark money sources as well. The rules should limit funding by corporations, and any organization, political party, or other political action campaign should have donations based on their membership and limits imposed.
Thank you. Should Oregon use an independent citizens redistricting commission? Why or why not?
Well, I think that we should use an independent citizens redistricting commission. I think it gives the public a better sense of security that our system is fair and equitable. We need to feel confident in our system. People don't vote when they feel like their vote doesn't count or when the system is rigged. We can evaluate examples of fair commissions in other states, like Washington. We should also look beyond that, though, and look at drawing boundaries that provide a larger mix of voters and consider multiple positions in each district to better represent the makeup of voters, as is being considered by the Portland City Charter Commission.
Thank you. You're listening to the Video Voters Guide or listening on podcast, and I'm here with Catherine Thomasson, who is running for Oregon House of Representatives, District 45. So next question. What does Oregon need to do to provide affordable, quality childcare for families?
Well, first, we really must commit to the vision that affordable, quality childcare is essential for families, especially single parent families. I'm really excited to see the implementation of childcare for all in Portland, and I'm eager to see the pay raise necessary for this essential work. At the state level, we need to increase support for family in-home care that's paid along with childcare centers and increase education and recruitment for childcare workers.
Thank you. How, if at all, should privately made firearms, the so-called ghost guns, be regulated?
Well, I believe that guns are deadly devices, especially when they're in the wrong hands, such as someone dealing with depression. And together they represent a real public health issue. Suicide is the leading cause of death from a handgun. There should be I think that all guns, like driving, should require licensing and training for use. And there should be no loopholes on background checks for purchasing guns or gun parts, regardless of who makes them. The Biden administration has provided a roadmap for achieving this with federal action requiring gun parts be manufactured with serial numbers that can be traced. I'd like to see that everywhere.
Thank you. What, if any, reforms would you propose to improve the current legislative process?
Well, the legislative process in the state of Oregon seems short, but a lot happens in between sessions. I feel that we need full-time pay for legislators so that we can keep elected working mothers and attract people from all walks of life to serve in that capacity. Full-time pay would increase the diversity of representation in Salem and help make sure that traditionally marginalized groups have a voice as well. Policy development for developing laws should also bring more voices to the table so that legislators and everyone working on these can understand the potential impacts and develop the best solutions for problems. I actually, surprisingly, like Zoom meetings because I feel they've markedly increased the input of the public in legislative hearings and in hearings in front of agencies, and that has improved the process. This should be continued to allow those who can't physically travel to Salem to be included in the process.
Thank you, Dr. Thomasson. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview of Catherine Thomasson, who's running for Oregon House of Representatives District 45. Election day is May 17th. Thank you for taking this opportunity to inform yourself, and I hope you'll tell your family and friends about this resource. For more information about the primary election and this race, visit our websites. We have two. One is vote411.org, and the other is lwvpdx.org. Thank you.